Yeah, thank you all so much for a very. Whoop. No, I think we can maybe we can. It's maybe a good way to get a break by having a conversation. That's my hope. I mean, yeah. I mean, thank you both. Thank you all for very powerful presentations. Very harrowing presentations at times. But I think I also really appreciated Joe this sliver or this glimmer of hope and of inspiration that you had on this idea of building monuments, thinking of monuments as performances, as rituals. And I mean, I think that there are a lot of kind of relations between these two instances, these two efforts. But there's also two very kind of distinct, there's very clear distinctions. Whereas, I mean, in Joe, in your case, I was really shocked to see the videos of the burned detention facility. That I guess was preserved almost for a proper democratic process of evidence.
Crime scene, if you like.
But so there was almost. I mean, I was personally very overwhelmed by the amount of visual material that you had, whereas with Ana there was none. And similarly, in terms of the polarization or the opposites of these situations, you know, with regards to this question of responsibility and culpability, we know very clearly who was behind this torture prison, right? We know that this is part of a war that is, you know, a formalized, you know, discourse on, you know, good and bad, or at least different sides, whereas there is this kind of lingering question, which you might be able to argue can be used as maybe as a political distraction, to be like, oh, well, who started it? That there's this kind of open question as to the origin of this fire, whereas, you know, you very rightly say it's not so much about who started the fire, it's about why are these people in this situation in the first place. And so, you know, I maybe just want to lay the grounds. I mean, I'm hoping that there also might be some questions that kind of you do maybe have for each other. But I think, you know, in that Sadnaya is a series of videos. It is a media platform. And Joe, you're saying that you are now working towards creating a documentary. I wonder if you could maybe both speak about the agency that these media artifacts have within this ongoing struggle and these contexts that you're working within.
Would you like me to answer this first? Yeah. I think basically a documentary that you make 10 or 15 years after the event will not add so much to the agency about the event, but it might work as a reminder, as a confrontation, because the political structure and the institutions and the procedures are still there, of course. And on the other hand, I think that creating, together with the survivors and together with the agents of We Are Here right now, you are, with a documentary, adding another layer, another way of looking at the situation that enables more people to understand and to connect. And in that sense, it could be part of a broader strategy of what I call infiltration, submerging the Underground Railroad, if you like. Because I believe the big difference between Sadnaya and the Schiphol fire is that Holland is a democracy. Syria is not, at all. And the good thing about the Netherlands is that the system is not closed, although it likes to be especially for migrants. But it is not. And society is more than regulation and state controls and institutions. So in Holland, in Amsterdam, we have ways to make life, even if you have no documents. And maybe this is connected with the guilt about the colonial past, or maybe with the good vibes of hiding Jews in the Holocaust times. I don't care, but that's the power we have to tap on. I'm not sure how this is in Syria, but I'm sure some of these connections are there as well.
I think the distinction is not necessarily about democracy, not democracy, but obviously Syria is in full-blown civil war, and the prison is a weapon of war. It obviously doesn't compare to the political situation here. I think with regards to agency, one of the things that the project certainly allowed the survivors to do was to feel that they could do something with this experience, that they had simply not had any outlet for. Most of these survivors that we met were living in Gaziantep in a sort of semi-permanent exile, unable to go anywhere. They had only spoken to an Amnesty researcher, perhaps, or to one another.
How they lived there in Gaziantep in Turkey, actually?
In what sense? How did they...
Was it a camp or was it a private house? Did they make
No, they're
private
living in
arrangements?
different situations, actually. Some of them, Diab, who you see doing sound modelling, is very politically active around Sinai, but around other political issues. I mean, they're actually, they have vastly different, they come from very different backgrounds as well.
Would you say they are a community or a group?
No.
They come together?
No.
Okay.
No. Some of them met for the first time during this project on the interview days. What they did express was a sense of satisfaction with the project when it was finished, of seeing an attempt to reckon with what they had experienced, an attempt to understand it and to represent it for what that's worth. I don't think it's simply not at a stage where there's any prospect of a legal case for justice being brought around Sydney at the moment. In fact, that looks less and less likely as situation in Syria goes on. So it is what it is. And I think with forensic architecture, there's quite often an effort to do something with what we have got, as opposed to just doing nothing. And maybe all we have is a satellite image and a chance to interview 6 people and a really small budget and a room in a basement in Istanbul. And from that, we try and do something.
Yeah, but I think it's a very important dimension of what you're saying about the relationship that you had with the survivors who testified and who gave their testimony and relived these experiences for you, and also in the way that these commemoration practices so in the sense, the making of this video itself is a form of restoring justice to these people. It's giving legitimacy to their, to their stories and to their life.
Yeah, I think with Sydney also in relation, it's a place that's denied, and it's a place whose existence is denied, and there are no images of it. So being able to, because the interview process, it wasn't passive. They weren't just interviewees being asked questions. They were modelling. They were recreating the spaces themselves, and so it's an act. It enabled them to do something.
It's exposure and recognition at the same time. It's exposure of the regime that makes this happen, and it recognizes the suffering of the inmates. Mm-hmm. And that can be a start of a process of restorative justice, I believe. Yeah.
I maybe want to turn my body a bit. If there are any questions from the audience, we'd be more than happy to open this up.
We love critical questions.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question. So, what has happened in terms of attempts to take it out? Okay, maybe you can help me. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Free. What has happened in the campaign for justice? I mean, you mentioned that that there was a minister who stepped down, but what kind of responses have there been?
Well, the political response after the publication of the safety board that made clear that due to the mistakes made by the different institutions, these people could have died and it could have been prevented. That was reason for the 2 ministers involved to step down without taking the blame, really. I can show you the words that the Minister of Justice Donner said when he resigned, and basically he said 2 things. That you cannot expect from a state to prevent all disasters that could happen, denying the fact that these were people in the power of the state, so they are responsible by natural law, I would say. And secondly, that if you demand this from a sovereign state, that they treat everybody well, it threatens to undermine the state of law and democracy itself. So that was his defense. That's no sorry, that's no excuse. That's at best a rhetoric, Calvinistic, legal approach. He had to step down because somebody had to step down because they couldn't get away with it, but it was no excuse. And then, of course, there was a whole train of court procedures. The one I mentioned was about the accused Ahmed Issa, who was treated in 3 instances. The first time he was convicted to 1.5 years based on a sloppy trial. Then in the second case, the higher court in Amsterdam, that took place in 2011. That's where we staged our own environment, actually, by parking a bus in front of the courthouse with a table outside. It was in the summertime, where friends and survivors could get together and tell their own story to the people of the press, and also having people inside reporting on what was happening inside, and also survivors. For instance, Gladys Tukaya, the one who wrote the letter to the Minister of Justice. She was also representing the survivors in this trial, explaining that in her eyes, Ahmed Issa was not guilty. It was the system that was guilty. And in between those 2 steps, I can say that part of the process was that we brought together Gladys and Ahmed Issa at the time that he was not in jail. So they met, just like Sacco and Gladys can come together. And if not get over the trauma, but see each other's real face. That's something. And then there was an indemnification of about 15,000 euros for people who had lost their lives in many senses, which was far from sufficient to do anything better than go to doctors and maybe get a house. We made theater. We did workshops. But basically, we sit together, we talk together, and sometimes we cry together, and sometimes we make music together. And sometimes we just do nothing at all. What do you say? What do we do? We make radio too.
Yeah, like what you say.
And we go around the world. We go to Senegal together, yeah.
Yeah, I hope I have to go. It's time now to go see my family. Yes. Yeah. After the fire, it was not allowed I go outside to this country. And when they give me the Verblijf Vergunning, to now it's impossible to get money to go back to my country to see my family. But you and company try to help me this year to invite my wife here. Maybe when she go back, I go back to see my children. It's so difficult for me to stay so long without see my family. Everything I have in my life is still in Senegal. My wife, my children, my family, brother and sister. I have 2 brothers, they are dying behind me the last month. And I'm here. I don't have power to go. Yeah, 2 times. My little brother and my brother. Yeah, they are dying behind me, and I'm still here. That's why when you see me, I'm macher. I know can be so big, I think every time. And I sleep every day at 6 o'clock. Yeah, I washing to 6 o'clock to start to sleeping. And I use medicine, strong medicine. When I use it, wow, it's so difficult for me. Yeah. But I'm here, I'm still alive. That is important. Yeah.
I think, Mustafa, you want to say, but I would like to remind what we talked about. You asked a question that was also not answered by the safety board. The 298 people who were in the center during the fire, where have they gone?
Disappeared.
They made them disappear in many ways.
No, after the fire, they give us 26 days to go out.
Yeah.
And after the fire, we need hospital, but they bring us to the boat, to the prison in Rotterdam. And there also, fire happened there again. And the guys are trauma, they think they want to kill them. That's why many of the guys, they run away. Some of Belgium, some they go in Paris.
Yeah, I want to say the night when the fire happened was 293 people in the prison. Just we was close to the fire. 39 people, they can't talk very good Dutch because the government sent to us trauma team, specialist, to the prison. They talk with us, and we can tell them what we have, what we make, what we have gezien in the fire. Just we can tell our story. And the specialist, the psychologist and psychiatrist, die make report, they bring him to Den Haag, to the parliament, and then they see these people, they have trauma, they have to move from the prison, because from the fire prison to under prison, that is not good for these people. They have to go to a safe place, get medical care. But other people, they have ook big trauma, but they can't talk Dutch. They can not very good talk English. But these people, they are disappeared. They need medical care. They have a right to stay here. The people, the 11 people, they are die. They are the brothers. They have a right to stay here because nobody from us, 293 people, they was in the Schiphol, the prison, deportation prison. They have no criminal case. Just they come to Europe to make life, to support his family. So some from us, they have children here in Europe, like me. I have a boy with a Dutch woman. He now is 18 years old. His name is Wesley. The day when the fire happened was his birthday, 27 October 2005. My son is born in 27 October 2000. So, my lawyer and me, I say, please, I want to stay here to make life with my son and see him grow up. But the system tell me no, because you come in here in Holland in 97, illegally without document, you have to move back to Morocco, and then your partner, your Dutch partner, come after you and make a new procedures. Then you get the visa. But my lawyer, he tell me, if you move from the prison and you go, you will never come back. And he opened for main procedure. But I see the same. I was there. I don't have to be there because I have a case. I have a son. I want to make life with my son. But I am happy that I survive. But the 11 brothers, they are died. They have same case as me. They have children. They have family. Some of them have children here in Holland, and some of them they have children in Georgia, Dominican Republic, Libya, zoals Lotfi. And me, I am happy to tell, I am survived, and I can tell the story of these people and for me. But what I want to see, we are here to make life again. After the fire, the government knows that they are guilty, but they can't tell the whole world we are guilty. We are suspect. We build onveilig containercellen, prison for these people, deportation. The deportation place was not fire safe. In 2002 was ook fire daar happened. But in 2002, no victims. But because the government knows that they are guilty, they release the only one victim, Ahmed Isa, and they declare him not guilty, and they deport him to Libya. And also they deporting too much people with big trauma. They need medical care. They deporting them. Just we are 39 people. They have good luck to stay here to get paper. In 2006, they give us a humanitarian document because our doctors tell these people they are very, very, very traumatized. And one tablet, the first tablet is they have coming from you. Give these people paper. Then they feel that they are safe. 1 year after the fire, just we feel that we don't go again to the prison to be deported. 1 year, 2006. And after they give us the house and 10,000 euro for each one, and that is nothing because I am very happy now, but my head and my ghost stay in the fire nights. Every night I wake up with building, with images, fire, brothers they screaming for help, but nobody let us to go to freedom because the Koninklijke Marechaussee, the police was there in the recreation place and they get the guns, her guns, and they tell us, don't move. If you move, to release the other prison, we go and shoot your head. We tell them, please go you. You have power, go and release. They tell us, no, it's not our job. It's job of the brandweer, fire people. But I am happy, and I know it's difficult to live with so images and trauma, but I try with my specialists and my friends and people every year to make ceremonies and talking about this. And that is very good therapy for me. And the voice of the 11 people they are die don't never be forget. Thank you.
There's a question there. If I can maybe just ask one quick question to Ana as this kind of goes over. In the time that you spent working with the survivors, despite the difference in context, is there an idea of what justice would ultimately be? Is it the fulfillment of the right of return as these people are displaced, or?
We didn't really talk about it. I mean, I think it's very difficult to talk about it in this particular, especially at the time when we were making, when we were doing the interviews and the reconstructions, because it seemed so unlikely. Well, it just seemed very difficult to imagine what an end might look like and what the consequences of that might be. What we did talk about was the prison. So we did ask all the detainees what they felt should happen to the prison in the future, and that was very interesting because a number of the survivors felt that it was very important that there was a place where what had happened was not forgotten, and for some of the survivors they thought that should be the prison. that the prison should be converted into something akin to a museum. Whereas there were obviously other detainees who never wanted to see it again and thought it should be razed to the ground. For one of those detainees, he saw the project itself as being akin to that sort of museum, as it were. So the reconstruction had allowed them to deposit something of that experience there, and maybe they could move on. But in terms of justice, I think it's very difficult to talk about it. As I was mentioning to you earlier, Assad was interviewed on television after the project became public, and he was asked about Sidnaya specifically because of the project, and obviously denied that it existed, or denied knowing about it. And that was something, the fact that he was asked at all, actually. Yeah.
There was a question back.
Shall I go to it? Hi, I don't know if you can hear me from here or see me. Yeah, I had a question for Papa Sako and Mustafa because, while you guys were speaking, I was seeing kind of how opposite your experience is from the experience that the people that Ana talked to was, in the sense that both are testimonies, but with Ana it was a conversation, and you said that they were very positive about the fact that you were paying attention to this conversation and doing something about it. But for Papa Sako and Mustafa, you have been having this conversation and giving your testimony through time, multiple times. So I was curious about if this feeling that Ana is referring to, this positivity of being, feeling like you're being heard, or feeling that your testimony is having an impact, and is part of your healing process, or you're doing it because you're in this kind of seek of justice, and you feel like this thing that you're doing is important, but in a personal level is no longer a healing process for you.
No, I don't like it, but sometimes also I have to make film or write book. I want to make them live forever. That's why I have to talk again. If I don't talk about that also, every time I think about that, yeah, it put out something out me to talk about that. Before I don't want to talk it. When you talk it, I cry, of my head move. You know that every day. When someone talk about the fire, I'm checking. And the way to talk about that is good for me. Like, I think it's medicine for me. Yeah. I don't want every day to go somewhere to talk about your life. No. This is one part of my life, and it's forever. I talk, it's inside me. I don't talk also, it's inside me. I never forget that.
Yeah, for me, first is in free therapy, because if I go to my psychiatrist, he will, the assurance he will buy, but for me it's in free therapy. And I learn too much from, because now is 18 years ago. My son is 18, yeah. All these years going, I have experience with psychologists, and I am there, therapy. It is a method from United States. MDR therapy, I learned that I have to talk and to tell what is happening if I have the chance. And that is very good for me for the treatment. That is also is in treatment. Before I read also. I have a book, I read what I see. If I wake up, and to tell the story again and again, and to people who listening, to people who understand, is also is in a treatment for me, and also to never forget those brothers, they are die, innocent people, and also those. People they are deported with big trauma. I know that it's in a black blade in the Dutch government history, because it has never happened before. And the tragedy, the Schiphol fire ramp. I know that the Dutch government and justice, they have learned from those mistakes, the mistakes they make. And I hope that never happen again. Because if you stay close in one cell, in one room, and you don't have, we take the air from investigation system. We don't have window, open window also, just from installation system, we take the air. And it's very difficult, very difficult. And you see the dad close to you, you won't run away, but you can. If you buy one bird of one, and you put him in cage, you have to take care for the bird. You give him water, you give him food, you put him not in the heat, but we are a human being, and they put us in one prison. Is not fire, not safe, and he knows that this place is fire, not safe. But well, they put us there because they say these people, they are numbers, just like DHL exportation box. They will go, they will move, and when the fire happen and people die, and big tragedy, big mistake for all, for security, they working there, for us, for the families, so the story I have to tell, I feel myself, very, very good, because I put out from myself what I tell.